Hi, I'm Jim Sullivan, and I'd like to welcome you to Boston Rock Talk. I'm your host. Today we have Yuck from London, and they're going to be starting us off with Hearts in Motion.
closer to the sun. Lay me down with everyone. I wanna be the only best friend that you have. I wanna be the only best friend that you have. Hold me closer to the sun. Lay me down with everyone. I wanna be the only best friend that you have. I wanna be the only best friend that you have. You. Hold me closer to the sea. Drag me down from underneath. I wanna see configurations of my dreams. I wanna see configurations of my dreams. Hold me closer to the sea. Drag me down from underneath. I wanna see configurations of my dreams. I wanna see configurations of my dreams. Yeah. Hold me closer now. Hold me closer now. Hold me closer now.
Welcome back to Boston Rock Talk. We just heard from Yuck, and we're now sitting down with the singer, guitar player, and songwriter, main songwriter, I guess, Max Bloom. Welcome.
Hello.
I'm going to start with the most obvious question, especially for people who are seeing Yuck for the first time. Where did the band name come from?
There's not really an interesting story behind it. I kind of wish that there was, but it was more just kind of a case of what should we call our band, and sitting down in my bedroom and just kind of thinking about it.
What got ruled out?
So many things. None that I care to mention right now, but yeah, we landed on Yuck, and I guess it just started as a bit of a joke name, but then that's what happens when, yeah.
It's funny, I was thinking, I mean, sometimes in England, words have different connotations or meanings than they do in the States, so I thought, for all I know, maybe Yuck is a compliment in England.
Yeah, I think it means the same thing.
Yeah, it's a good punk rocky kind of name, isn't it? In a way.
Some people love it and some people really hate it, but I kind of like it.
And you Google Yuck, and you also come up with a 2 Chainz song called Yuck.
Yeah.
Yuck.
I wouldn't Google Yuck, because questionable things come up.
Definitely,
Yeah.
definitely do. The band that people are seeing now is not quite the band they might have seen in 2011, 2012. Your friend and co-leader of the band, Daniel Bloomberg, exited, and that left you in a position, the position you're in now. I guess if you can explain a little bit about why he left and how it felt to kind of take over the helm.
I, I guess the short story is that he wanted to pursue other projects. And I mean, yeah, it was, I guess the whole thing was sort of a learning curve in many ways. You know, I guess creatively, as a band, we probably had to sort of come together a little bit more. But I mean, yeah, it was a learning curve, like every band has around this time in their career, when they, you know, just sort of have to evaluate how they want to sound and work out, you know, the best way for them to record and write music. Was
there any question of packing it in, or did you just say, fine, we'll regroup and figure it out?
It's difficult to say. I mean, I think, no, I don't think there was any question of just sort of ending it, just because, you know, we had quite a lot of songs already, and, you know, we just didn't want it to end. We wanted to carry on making music. And so, yeah, there was still 3 members of the band who were very keen to carry on, and so we just wanted to do it.
Well, I know the songwriting credits on the first album are pretty much split between you two, right? Did you write together, or did you come in with separate parts?
It was kind of, generally how it worked was I would write the music and then Daniel would do the lyrics. Yeah.
So how about now? Now that I mean, I know there's some co-writes on the record. Mariko does 1 or 2. Ed does a couple, I think. So how does it work now for you? I mean, you're mainly responsible, I guess, for what comes out.
Yeah, I mean, on this record, I think when there are co-writes, I mean, with Mariko, it was the same sort of thing. I wrote the music and then she did the vocals and lyrics and stuff like that. And you know, we've written a song in the past where, you know, she's written the music and stuff like that. And Ed also wrote the music and vocals for a couple of songs on the record. So it just depends, really. I mean, it kind of feels nice to have everyone involved, just because, you know, writing on my own was, I guess, something that I had to get used to, but in a way it kind of felt quite isolating. And, you know, I'm lucky enough to be in a band with 3 other incredible musicians, and so it would be a shame to waste their talent.
Are lyrics the most difficult part for you?
I mean, everything's difficult in its own way. I mean, if you're separating it into like music and lyrics, I guess they kind of come from totally different places. Yeah, I mean, lyrics can be really easy and can just kind of pour out in a couple of minutes, or they can take, you know, weeks, months, or whatever. So it just depends.
You guys have, on record, I think, kind of an interesting approach to the vocal mix, too, because it's not that prominent in some ways, or at least from what I'm hearing. Is that a conscious choice to kind of move it down a little bit in the mix?
Yeah, I mean, on the first record, we were listening to a lot of music where, for one reason or another, it was kind of like, you know, the vocals were really, like, embedded in the guitars, and we wanted to sort of sound that way. And so that was a conscious decision for sure on the first record, bearing in mind we didn't really know anything about producing or mixing. We were just kind of winging it. And then at this point, you know, we recorded this album as well. I guess mix-wise, we were just trying to get everything sounding as balanced as possible, if not a little bit more guitar heavy. So, yeah.
Well, the balance of melody to, if you will, noise or fuzz, distortion, whatever you want to call it, that's sort of shifted a bit, hasn't it, over time with you guys?
Yeah, in some ways. I mean, I still kind of, what kind of appeals to me a lot is kind of lots of noise, but like melodic noise as well. So I guess that hasn't changed.
And I guess that leads to the inevitable shoegaze question. You get accused or praised for being kind of 90s revivalists and bringing back some of the Ride and My Bloody Valentine and some of that. I don't know if that's accurate, or how do you look at that?
definitely. Like I would never deny that. Of course, it's like, especially on the first record. I think what kind of really kick-started the band was a kind of obsession with just a handful of bands, particularly on Sub Pop, that I kind of had never really heard that type of music before, and I was kind of looking for a certain type of guitar music that really summarized my teenage angst, and that was it. And so I was listening to a handful of bands, and I was really inspired and excited by that. And but obviously I still listen to a lot of the same music as I did back then. But naturally, people change and tastes change, and so there's, I guess, like a broader horizon when it comes to influences now than there was then. But yeah.
I saw somewhere, I think you said you were listening to a lot of Jeff Buckley or something.
Yeah.
Is that true?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, there's a lot of people that I listen to, but yeah, the album Grace is one of my favorite records ever.
For me and a lot of people too, definitely,
Yeah.
absolutely. I guess just talking about themes that you want to explore, and this is an honest question, I'm not really sure because a lot of the lyrics I'm not quite certain of, and I did that Wikipedia or internet search for the lyrics.
Yeah.
They're blank at the moment. No one's filled them in yet. And you don't have them on the album itself printed either. So I'm listening hard and going, I'm not quite
Actually,
sure.
that being said, they are on the vinyl version. It's a little insert.
Okay.
Got to get the
Yeah.
vinyl.
So you have to go buy the vinyl. The question, honestly, is sort of where are you coming from on this album lyrically? I mean, how do you explain the moods, textures, topics?
I guess lyrically, the album is kind of about just various kind of personal experiences that I've been going through over the past couple of years. And I quite enjoy sort of writing about quite mundane things in a way, just things that affect me. I kind of it's kind of quite therapeutic and cathartic to just write about things that affect me and people around me. I know some people kind of can write about characters and stories, but I've never really been able to do that. And yeah, when I write a song, I just kind of want to write whatever comes to mind, and so yeah.
Does the song mean something specific to you?
It can do. It depends. I mean, some songs, mean something very specific, and then some are just about a thought or mood or feeling or whatever, and just words kind of just happen.
I kind of like that in what you do in some other bands too, where you're not trying to tell a 3 or 4 minute story. You're just kind of laying a mood, throwing a few thoughts out, and putting somebody in a place where they can bring their own thoughts, I guess, into it. And
I've always found it pretty difficult to sort of tell a story over a kind of 3.5 minutes time length.
Right.
Yeah.
One of the really fun things on your website is your parents.
Yeah.
And there are endorsements. Don't go to it now. We'll finish the rest of the show, of course, people who are watching. But there's some very clever endorsements from your parents, Mariko's in particular, because I believe she would embarrass her parents if it were to fail and people did not buy the record. And tell us about some of the other little parental endorsements.
Yeah, I mean, that was just an idea that we had that we thought would be funny to promote the record, where, we just got all of our dads to just sort of urge people to buy the record, and we wrote a script in like a couple of minutes, and basically the general story was you got to buy the record because otherwise the kids are going to have to move back into the house, and that's not going to be possible because we've turned that room into a jacuzzi sauna.
You were all building jacuzzis, right? Wasn't that?
Yeah. So that was the general theme throughout, and obviously my dad thinks he's a really great comedian, but he's not, and so he had some ideas of his own, and he was trying to riff off me, and I was just like, please, just stick to the script. But
were there a lot of takes?
1 or 2. I mean, look, they're not actors.
No.
But what we did was we just printed out the script nice and big because my dad has very bad eyesight, and just sort of showed it to them, and then said, okay, we're going to do this now. So basically the first time they were reading it was when they were being filmed. But yeah, I think it turned out quite well. They're all really, really good sports, and I haven't actually met Mariko's dad because he obviously lives in Japan.
Right, right.
But yeah, he was great.
I hope she doesn't embarrass the family.
Me too.
And that's it. One other thing about family, I noticed you thank on the record family, friends, and cats.
Yeah.
What have the cats done to further the career of Yuck, or what kind of support have they lent you?
Well, I mean, there's only one cat in the band, and that's my cat.
Okay.
And so it really should be cat singular. But
What's the cat's name?
Whiskey.
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 Not Whiskers.
No.
Whiskey.
See, thing is, she was. I mean, how much time have we got? Because I could really talk for years about my cat.
How does it inspire you? How does whiskey inspire you?
She is.
It's kind of double-edged, isn't it? Whiskey the liquid and whiskey the cat.
Yeah, well, I love both, really.
Well, obviously, you must be if you named the cat after it.
See, that was why it was, serendipity, because, we got Whiskey from the RSPCA, and, we didn't pick the name, and she was called Whiskey, and I was like, well, we got to keep her.
Excellent.
So, she's been a great inspiration to me. Just, she's not exactly friendly, and, if you stroke her, she might sort of bite you or scratch you, but she loves me, really.
Would that be a metaphor for the band or anything, Ben? A little prickly, or not?
Maybe. If you want to read into it like that, that is fine.
I want to ask you about the guitar sound that you and Ed get. And obviously it changes from song to song, but I mean, what are the kind of things you're looking to do in the twin guitar attack, if you will?
I guess when there's a band with two guitars, I think it's about sort of filling in the frequencies. Mm-hmm. He kind of plays like a little bit more of a mellow tone, and I kind of do more of like trebly high stuff. And so I guess, that's sort of designed to sort of fill up a nice amount of space. Mm-hmm. And yeah, I mean, we've been sort of working on our sounds for a really long time. So, yeah.
I was reading something that you had said in one interview, and you're talking about how a lot of bands use irony and detachment sort of as kind of their calling card or part of their ethos or something. And you said for you, no, not at all really. It was more just about the straight-on catharsis, I think. Can you speak about that, if that indeed is a correct interpretation?
Yeah, I think so. I kind of feel like I only listen to music really that kind of affects me on an emotional level. So I don't know, I mean, that's just the way I do things, and mm-hmm. the way I only know how to do things. It's not really a conscious thing, it's just that sort of, I guess, like the way that the songs kind of come out.
Right.
So I don't know, I guess I've never written an ironic song.
The album you're touring behind now, of course, is your third, Stranger Things. Are you playing when you're doing concerts? Are you doing things from all three records, or how are you balancing things off?
Yeah, it's a nice balance between all three, for sure. It's not sort of leaning heavily against anything, really. It's just kind of like an even spread. And I've been sort of looking forward to, the time when we had more songs to play.
Right.
It definitely feels quite nice to have a selection and not just sort of be like, let's change these two songs around, every night when you only have 12 songs to play with.
Right,
whatever.
right.
So, yeah.
In the old days, I remember I saw the Police when they played the clubs, and they had so few songs, they had to play Roxanne at the beginning and the end.
That's great.
Yeah, and it was sort of, 1979, I guess it was. So it was sort of, it's all we've got. And of course, well, it's the hit, so go ahead. Everyone was happy to hear it again.
We've never done that in this band, but I remember in my old band, we did a gig and we had like very few amount of songs as well. And then we got, people wanted an encore, and then we didn't know what to do. And so I think we just went and played a song again.
Opportunities, maybe? Was that your first song? Was that the
Oh, Operation.
Operation? I'm sorry.
Oh, yeah, no, that was
it. Yeah, yeah.
yeah. That was this band, but I'm talking about like a school band.
Oh, I see. Okay, right.
Yeah.
But I guess also too, since I haven't seen you live yet, except for what you've done here in the studio, and these songs are fairly succinct. Do you stretch out more in concert, or do you kind of keep to the form of the album?
I think generally speaking, I mean, for this record, you know, we, I guess, wanted to make 10 or 11 songs, an album's worth of songs that would be really kind of fun to play live. So I think, you know, there's not much you can do really with, you know, I kind of enjoy watching a band that's sort of 2 guitars, bass, drums, and vocals. And so, you know, we kind of like to stick to that format. And yeah.
So, I mean, you don't jam.
Oh, right, that's what you mean.
Well, just, yeah, sort of extended jams, you know.
Nothing like, you know, Grateful Dead, but yeah, I mean, you know, if we're feeling a little bit fruity, then yeah, maybe maybe we'll go into a jam. But yeah, it's not often. You've got to sort of catch us in the right mood. But yeah.
This is, how many times have you been to America? This is maybe your 3rd trip through?
Oh, I think it's
more than that. More than that.
Maybe like 6 or 7.
How are you finding audiences changing or developing for you here?
It's interesting. I mean, generally speaking, the audiences in the US have been really great and supportive. And I mean, for this tour, it's just been quite surprising because there's been, you know, people who have kind of just discovered the band,
right.
and I really like that, and it's quite, you know, refreshing to, you know, just to meet those people, and then there's that combined with, you know, people who have listened to us from the beginning and stuff, and it's all very, you know, gratifying, but you know, things, the audiences are definitely changing, but yeah.
Well, I know you're going to play us out with As I Walk Away, and you want to just tell us a bit about that song, just to set it up. That's one where you don't sing lead.
Yeah. So I can just sort of sit back and watch Mariko sing, have a break. But yeah, that is, I think, the second song that me and Mariko wrote together. And it's, yeah, definitely in the top 3 of my favorite songs of the band, I think.
It's a beautiful song. Yeah.
Oh, well, thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, and yeah, and so I guess it means a lot to me in that respect because it's quite, you know, a rare thing that me and Mariko collaborate. So yeah.
Well, it also serves as a good outro song, doesn't it? As I Walk Away.
I think so.
All right. Well, I will leave you. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
And this has been Boston Rock Talk with Max Bloom and Yuck here today. Thanks for joining us.